Welcome to Math 118 here in the winter of 2026. Normally I make two videos, and this is the first of those videos. You won't see me in this video, and video 2 will be coming at some point very soon, but I may not get it done tonight. I'm in the process of converting almost everything over to Canvas for our course. So if you happen to have had this course before, it will be a little different this time around. The work is all the same, the math is the same, but just the interaction will be slightly different. If you're new to the course, then you won't even notice that it's different. So I'm starting here on the Canvas launch page. This is the home page for Canvas, and I've added a static page here toward the bottom of the page with all the important links to get us started here at the beginning of this semester. So you'll notice that I'm going to be putting links into these videos that I'm making here for winter 2026. The part 1 link will be this video, and the part 2 link will be where you actually see me in person introducing myself. And then the next link on below that is the course syllabus, which I'll talk about shortly. Underneath that is a week 1 checklist. I'd like you to click that sucker as soon as possible so you can get an idea of what you've got before you this week. I'm going to go ahead and click it right now so you can see what that should look like. When you bring that up, let me make this a little bit bigger for you. I've got a complete checklist here of all the items that need to get done during this first week. Our weeks are going to run from Monday, in this case, January 5th, until Sunday, in this case, January 11th. So I'll talk about this a little more, but one of the requirements for the course is that you register for our course on the Lumen Learning OHM website. So this is the website that's going to deliver the content for the course, specifically the assignments, quizzes, and exams that we use for the course. Now, there is a purchase cost for this. I believe it's between $40 and $50. You can purchase it through the U of M bookstore, or you can use a credit card and purchase it right directly on the website. However, you don't have to make that purchase right away. When you register for the course, you are provided a 14-day free trial. So I want everybody to do that as soon as possible. Then you can decide if you're going to continue with the course to pay the fee and then continue. But for the first 2 weeks, just get yourself registered because you'll be able to interact with the assignments. Use the course ID written here, and then you'll have an enrollment key that they'll ask for, and that's also posted there. Now, the checklist is just a Google Doc, but it's set up so that when you finish something and you tap the box, it'll cross it out for you. So that might be useful for some of you, and I like to have things where I can just check stuff off and see it. If you want to have your own copy of this document so that you can check your own boxes, you have to go up to File and then choose Make a Copy, which is the third option there. I recommend you log in with your U of M Google account, but if you did it with your own personal account, that's fine also. So anyway, there's a checklist of all the items that we need to get done. There's quite a bit to get done this week, but they're all little short pieces. Specifically, Wednesday on January 7th, we have some orientation items due. The first two, the student inventory and the syllabus quiz, those are just Google forms. For the student inventory, you're going to just answer some questions about yourself so that I know a little bit more about you. And then for the syllabus quiz, after you've read over the syllabus and maybe have it open so you can read through it while you're taking the syllabus quiz, you'll click that link and there's a Google form that you can fill in. That's an actual quiz grade, but if you're not happy with your score, you can take it more than once. The whole point of the syllabus quiz is for you to get them all right so that you know the stuff in the syllabus. Then the third one there is an assignment tutorial that sort of leads you through how the homework assignments will work on the OHM site. So for that one, you'll have to have registered for our course on the Lumen Learning OHM. We do have a required discussion forum that will be due, and I actually need to change the link to that item, so I'm going to do that. But We're going to do our discussion forums right on Canvas. So if you click that link, it'll just take you back to the Canvas page, and then you can go to that discussion forum. Once we get done with those introductory orientation assignments, we get to start with a math. So in particular, we've got 2 review lessons that we're going to work on this week. They're section 1.1, which is about functions, and section 1.2, which is about operations with functions. So typically our homework assignments will be due on Thursday and Sunday each week, and that is the case here in week 1. However, and I'll talk about this in the syllabus, you do have an option for a late pass, which is basically a 1-week extension anytime you have a homework assignment. Obviously, I prefer you stick with the scheduled due dates, but things do come up, and when they do, you have the option to use a late pass. So just remember those late passes are available for those homework assignments. And then I've just got a note here at the bottom saying, hey, you don't have to pay right away. You get a 14-day trial period. But then once the period's done, you will be required to purchase the OHM. So that's the checklist that's available. Then I give you all the information again about Lumen Learning OHM, including the codes that you'll need to get registered. The last link here, the Applied Calculus textbook, this is a link to the online version of the entire textbook. So when you click that, it just takes you to the table of contents here, and then you'll see that there are actually 4 chapters. We will be basically working in the first 3 chapters for our course. Now, when we do individual lessons, I'll link to the individual sections of this textbook as well. You have options if you want to buy a print copy, you can do that. But this is a open source, freely available textbook that we can use without having to purchase it. So that's there. It's an open educational resource, they call it. Okay, now on Canvas, our content is going to be organized into modules. So you'll notice here toward the bottom of the page, I say to access the course content, go to modules, which is up here in the upper left side of the navigation, or you could just start at the week 1 link here that I've given. So I'm going to click on modules, and you'll notice what I've done is I've divided the course into weeks. So I'm just going to collapse these so that you kind of see. Right now, I've only posted the first 2 weeks, but coming up here in the next week or so, I'll be posting the other weeks. I like to stay 2 or 3 weeks ahead because you may have opportunities to work ahead with your schedule, and I want to make sure I'm meeting the needs of all the students here, especially in this online format. Anyway, let's take a quick look at week 1. You've already seen the checklist, which I've linked to here. But basically now, there's an outline here of all the things that we're going to be working on for week 1, including the sections from the textbook. So just like I had in the weekly checklist, there's an assignment item here on Canvas for the student inventory for the syllabus. I've got the student inventory listed twice, so I got to figure out what that issue is. I'll fix one of those. One of those is messed up. That should only be on there once. And then our discussion, which is just an introduction where you're going to introduce yourself to the entire class. When you do the discussion forums, we'll have one probably every other week. You'll have to respond to the prompt. That's for 6 points. And then come back later and reply to at least 2 other students. And that each of those are worth 2 points. So that's a total of 10 points, 4 points each. So just keep in mind that that's how the structure of the required forums will work. This one's pretty easy. You just respond to my prompt, which is to introduce yourself and talk about your status at U of M and your interest in math or something special about yourself. Things like that. It's all listed there. And then when we get to the content, I've basically divided each section into 2 parts. The first part is the reading and video tutorials. So essentially, this is all the material that I provide so that you can learn the lesson. I always want you to start with reading that textbook lesson, and I've linked it in 2 ways, either the web version that I showed you or a PDF copy. I prefer the web version. It's the most up-to-date, and it's a little more interactive at times. So here's the first lesson about functions, and you can read through this. There's even a couple of videos that they've embedded into this text as well that you can read. I do want to point out that the online version has what we call a reader mode up here in the upper right. It says enter reader mode. When you choose that, it formats it in a little more like a page where you can just read the content a little more like a book, basically. This might work better on a tablet or maybe on your phone. The phone isn't great for this textbook, but certainly a computer screen or a tablet are good devices to use to interact with a textbook. Once you've done the reading, it might be a good idea to just view the attached videos that I've included here. They will go through all of the major content items that you'll have to tackle when you work on the homework. So I recommend that you also watch the videos. Some of these another instructor has made, and some of them I have made as well. So those are available for you. And then once you've accomplished the studying, the tutorials and the reading, you're going to be ready to work on your homework assignment. The homework assignments are all delivered through that Lumen online homework system. So after you registered and you come to the course page on the OHM, this is what you'll be presented with. So I'm going to have some redundancy with the content here. Everything's going to run through Canvas, but if I post something on Canvas like an announcement, I'll also include that here in the announcement section. That's why it says also posted on Canvas. I do keep links to the pertinent course documents just so you can get to them quickly here, the syllabus and the textbook. And then I do have those same modules available here with the same information. So this is all the same stuff that you saw on Canvas, but sometimes as you're working on your homework, you might want to have easy access to it, so it's listed here. But the bottom line is, when it's time to complete homework 1.1, you will go to OHM and you'll click this link. And no, I guess I must have started this assignment. So I'm going to hit resume, but basically it picks up where I left off. So here's what I want to show you. The questions are going to come at you one at a time. You can go to the first question. You can use these arrows, which are right here, to navigate. But one important feature of this OHM is this item down here called Message Instructor. So if you're working on a question like this one and you're flat out stuck, especially if you've already tried two answers. Now, if you've already tried two answers on this one, that's multiple choice, you're going to get it on the third try. But typically, if you tried a question once or twice and you're stuck, please click Message Instructor. When you do that, it will come up with a message already prepared to send to me, and it'll include the question that you're working on. And then all I want you to do up in here is type out your question. Give me as much detail as you can. Here's what I tried. Why am I getting this answer wrong? I think I have it right. Will you take a look at it? When you do that, I'll be able to respond after looking at what you've tried already. I might ask you for more information. Like I might say, hey, can you take a picture of your work so I can see what you were working on? But this system is very convenient because it's specific to those particular questions, and it's a direct contact right to me. So when you have homework specific questions, use the Message Instructor. But don't forget to type your question in. I do have students from time to time just simply click the button and then hit send message. And I have no idea what their question is, and it just takes more time because I reply, hey, what's your question? And then they have to respond to me. So go ahead and type the question in there. Okay, let's just go back so you can kind of see what's going on. Once you're done with the homework, it will be scored on OHM, and then we'll transfer that score into the grade book on Canvas. So don't worry about that. Just realize it's going to be in two places, and that's okay. We will make sure that they match, obviously. Now, I do want to show you one thing. If you happen to access the homework assignment right through Canvas where it says homework 1.1, you'll be directed to a description of the homework, and it'll say, click here to complete homework 1.1. And that's going to take you directly to the assignment. So you can get directly to the homework assignment from Canvas without going through the entire set of menus that are available on OHM. But if you're not logged in, it's going to ask you to log in first with your credentials before it takes you to the homework. So I just wanted you to see that that homework can be directly accessed through Canvas. The items that you have available on the side here are essentially the home page, which we've already talked about. There is a syllabus page, which I'm going to talk about in a second. All those modules that I already discussed. And then I do have discussions available. Now I'm pointing this out because I do have one pinned discussion. And that's not required, but it's just an open discussion for anything that happens to come up in class. I've already talked to you about how we can address specific homework questions. But if you have a question that you want to pose to the entire class about something to do with our course, whether it has to do with Canvas or OHM, or just, you're stuck on a particular content and I haven't responded yet, you could post it here and allow your classmates to respond as well. I do like to respond as soon as possible, but for some reason, if it's overnight, obviously I do go to bed at probably around 9 o'clock. So if you post a homework question for me after around 9 o'clock, I'm not going to answer it until the next day. You could put it on the discussion and see if anybody else wants to pipe in and give you some advice. So the discussions are there. All the assignments that we have are available here. They're divided into categories because, as you'll see in the syllabus, our grade is determined by weighted categories. So the assignments are listed there. And then when the time comes and we have grades, you'll be able to access your scores through the grades link. Let's go to the syllabus. So when you get to the course syllabus page, I'm just going to redirect you to my Google Doc. But you click on this and you get to the syllabus, which is right here. I'm going to make it a little bigger. Please read through the entire syllabus carefully. I know reading's not the most fun thing to do, but this is going to be like our rule of law in terms of our course procedures. So there's a description here of how to contact me, my email, my phone number. My office hours are officially Monday and Wednesday after my class from 12 to 1 because I have a campus class, on-campus class as well. But for you guys, anytime you need to get a hold of me, either send me a quick note and I'll respond immediately or as fast as I can, or if we need to, we can set up an appointment. I go through the course description. I talk about Canvas and online, the Lumen Learning online homework management, which we already discussed. We will be needing to use a calculator for this course. So because we're in an online format, I'm going to be referencing the Desmos graphing calculator. That's an online tool. You can also have an app on your phone or your tablet if you'd like to use that. But we will design all of the work that we need to do, or we will make sure that you can use Desmos to do that. You can also have a TI-83 or TI-84 calculator, and I can show you how to use that to do the same sorts of things that we do on Desmos if you happen to have purchased one. The course grading is outlined in the syllabus here. It's the same weights that I talked about on Canvas, but you'll see that our course is divided up into these different categories. In particular, I want you to notice that those orientation assignments that we are supposed to do by Wednesday, those are going to weigh in as 5% of your grade. The intent there is for you just to get all the points. I'm not trying to mess with you, but I do want to have an assignment in the book this week from everyone, and that's the easiest way to do it because I just ask you about yourself, essentially. So complete those. Don't blow them off. You'll lose the 5% on your grade, and I'm not happy about that happening, but it's just easy way for you to get off to the right foot by doing that. And then you'll see that the grades are listed based on this grading scale here. I do want to point out that we will be dropping your lowest homework score and your lowest quiz score. So when we get to the end of the semester, the system will drop your lowest score for each of those categories. I do outline in detail the late passes that I discussed earlier, specifically that a late pass just delays a due date by 1 week. So a late pass won't help you if you're 2 months down the road on an assignment, but if you need an extra week to get something done, use the late pass. Those apply to the homework, but they don't apply to the exams. I think they do apply to the quizzes as well. Yeah, they extend a homework assignment or a quiz by 1 week. For the midterm exams or the final exam, those due dates are hard. And if you have some sort of extenuating circumstances, you have to work with me ahead of time. And, if it's a reasonable situation, we can make adjustments there on a case by case basis. But I'm not going to let the computer system dictate that. That'll be something that you and I work out together. In terms of the homeworks, they are meant for practice. So I want you to get these questions right. You are allowed 4 attempts on each homework. And the first 2, there's no penalty. So if you get a question wrong the first time and you think you've worked it out on your own and you try again and get it right, it won't be a penalty. You get the points for that question. As soon as you've used 2 attempts, I would stop and I would message the instructor and say, hey, I need help on this thing. Because attempt 3 and attempt 4 are each subject to a 15% deduction, just for that question, not for the entire assignment. So for example, if the question is worth 1 point and you get it right on the 3rd attempt, you'll only get 0.85 points. You'll lose 15%. So you get 0.85 instead of 1.0. And then if you took a 4th one, it'd be reduced by 15 again. So that would be a 0.70 that you'd get for that question. You can avoid that by asking questions sooner rather than later. But I do want you to know that you get 4 attempts on those things. For our quizzes, it's a little more strict because the idea is you've practiced the homework, you've asked all your questions, you've done the activities and done the reading. A quiz is your chance to show what you've learned in that particular unit. And so for the quizzes, you get 3 attempts, but each wrong answer if you on the 2nd or 3rd one. So if you get it right on the 2nd attempt, that's a 15% reduction. If you get it right on the 3rd attempt, that's another 15%, which would be a 30% reduction for that question. The other thing that's different about the quizzes is they're timed. So once you start, you have 1 hour to finish. So don't start it until you're ready to spend up to an hour. They shouldn't take an hour, but until you're ready to spend that amount of time and get it done. We mentioned that your lowest quiz score is already dropped. For the exams, those you have to also complete in 1 sitting. The midterm exams, you're provided 2 hours. And then for the final exam, you're provided 2.5 hours, just like you would be in a face-to-face setting. But on those exams, there's only 2 attempts on each question. And if you get it wrong on the first attempt and get it right on the second attempt, you'll get half credit for that question. So you really want to be ready to get right answers on your first attempt once you get to the exams, the midterm exams or the final exams. I also talk about the discussion forums, which I already mentioned before, but there's a summary of those. And then I talk about the message instructor features and then also the university's disability statement. So I'm not going to read that through with you, but please read the syllabus. I'm trying to help you get an A on that syllabus quiz. I'm going to wrap this video up now. I've hit the highlights being, please go to Canvas, read through the week 1 checklist, get signed up on OHM, get started on your first orientation assignments, and then ultimately those first lessons in the textbook. And since you have lasted to the end of the video, I'm going to give you a little extra bonus answer here. When you get on the syllabus quiz, you might see a question that says, hey, what's the magic word? So for W2026, winter of 2026, the magic word is going to be Leibniz. This is one of the gentlemen who happened to invent calculus. So when the question comes up on the syllabus quiz, type it in all capital letters, Leibniz. Type it in all capital letters. Don't share this with your fellow students. If they didn't watch the video, maybe they don't get the extra points, but you will. So this is worth 1 bonus point on the syllabus quiz. All right. Thank you for listening. This was important stuff. I'm looking forward to a great semester, and I'm just trying to help you get off on the right foot. If you have any questions, please fire away. You can email me, you can message me through Canvas. But if you get stuck on anything or have any questions, let's take care of that right away so that we can get off to the right on the right foot this week here. Okay, that's it for now. Stay tuned for a second video, which will be very brief, just with me introducing myself in person. But for now, take care, and I'll see you soon, at least through the computer.